now. With me for this interview is Mr. Rizwan Shafi from Crescent Bahuman. Is that how you say Crescent Bahuman?
That is correct.
So we had a chance to talk about another subject a few days ago. And when I spoke to this gentleman, I got very excited and I thought we should share him with our Kingpins audience. It wasn't right just that I could have a chance to talk to him. I think everybody should hear from him. And so welcome to our interview, Mr. Shafi. And I guess my first question is, your company goes back all the way to the partition. Do you mind to share with our audience what partition meant and how that worked out for your family, where you started and where you ended up? What got you into textiles?
All right. I call myself three and a half generations. So I'm neither the fourth or the third generation in this business. The story actually began originally in the early 1900s, where my grandfather and his three brothers, when they were very young, they lost their father. And the eldest decided to go into leather business. And he created leather tanneries in India. This was pre-partition. Partition happened in 1947 for us. And at the time of partition, my family was probably one of the largest tannery owners in India. And at that time, the women lived on what is called Pakistan now, in a small place called Chinnot. And rest of the men lived in Madras in India and Amritsar in India. When they came to Pakistan, they decided that they will donate the tanneries to the workers there and start fresh. So when they moved to Pakistan, they created a company called MAMBA Corporation, which is Muhammad Amin, Muhammad Bashir, a corporation which was a trading company and primarily trading in cotton. And first industrial venture after partition was set up in 1952, which is called the Crescent Textile Mills. And in the mid 60s, they started expanding into other areas. And actually the growth of the Crescent Group itself happened between the mid 60s to early 2000s. And the businesses were diversified from there on to banking, insurance, steel, sugar, software. So currently at this moment, we have about 32 publicly listed companies in Pakistan.
32. 32 publicly listed.
32. So an equal number of privately held companies. The family structure is very unique. Crescent Group is collectively owned, independently run companies. So each company, the culture, the vision, the trajectory, the value system may vary from the other. But one thing remains the same, that most of the companies, or pretty much all of the companies, are collectively owned by the family members. We are about 32 working hands in the family. And each one of them looks after a different sphere of the business. It happens to be my responsibility to look after Crescent Bahuman. And as we discussed earlier, that we don't call ourselves owners, because nobody really can own something like this. And so we are custodians.
Okay.
So this custody was passed on to me about 4 to 5 years ago of CBL. Till then, and to date, I report to my father, who remains to be the guiding light of this company, because he's the one who created it. I was still in school. He's the one who had the vision, because before coming to CBL, which is Crescent Bahuman Limited, he was the deputy chief executive of a company called Crescent Textile Mills Limited, which is the parent company of pretty much all or most Crescent Group companies. Mm-hmm. Crescent Textile is a vertically integrated home textile unit, which became the first company in this country to export yarn out of Pakistan, then cotton, then fabric, and then home textiles. And in 1994, or actually 1992, my father decided that he will no longer want to continue in spinning business, because Crescent Textile at that time was the biggest spinner in Pakistan with 130,000 spindles under one roof.
Mhm.
And so he decided that he's going to set up something new, something greenfield. And he's selected a place which was about 100 kilometers away from any major city. He selected a piece of land that was completely raw. It was marshland. It was waterlogged. It has all sorts of issues. His vision was to create a factory in the middle of the jungle. So the jungle didn't exist. So he created a jungle around it. So he reclaimed all of that land. If I take you a little bit back, how the denim idea was born, my father wanted to get into value-added business because he thought that Pakistan has an indigenous supply of cotton and very suited to coarser count product.
Mhm.
But he did not want to go in the route of socks or something else. He wanted to move on from the legacy of Crescent Textile Mill, which was already doing a fabulous business in home textile. So he wanted to step up from there. So he selected then to become partners with Greenwood Mills in America. And the joint venture was set up as a majority stake with the Crescent family in Pakistan. And so it was a 51-49 split, basically. But if I break it down, the certain percentage was parked with the International Finance Corporation as a consortium
Mhm.
to become, so World Bank became a partner in this company.
Mhm. I read about that.
So when the guidelines were being set up of how a responsible, sustainable business is going to be set up, the first effluent treatment plant of its nature, completely bio-based, was set up in 1994.
Mhm.
At that time, the industry was not aware of such large-scale water treatment plants, and that too completely biological. No chemicals are added. And a 7-acre site was constructed just to treat water, this facility. Then when my father bought about 1,000 acres of land, and 500 acres were for research of different crops, and 500 acres was for industrial expansion. Because the original vision was that we will be setting up a suppliers park in this area. It's Crescent becoming the engine, and then we will invite a lot of the small and medium-sized industry to set up shop and become an integrated supply chain partner. So the joint venture did not go that well. In that joint venture, because we did not, as a family, we had manufacturing know-how, but we had no know-how of selling jeans. And at that time, we had rinse, stonewash, and sandblast, and that's about it.
Mhm.
So this plant was originally set up as an American mill, which would produce 4 fabrics, 4 washes, and 4 styles. So when Greenwood departed, they could not sell. We kept on manufacturing, and we kept on filing goods internationally.
And they couldn't sell.
And they couldn't sell because they thought they would reach out to a brand and say, listen, the dream has come true. We used to sell you fabric, and we used to wash garments for you. We filled the middle part. Now we are vertically integrated, and we have a plant in Pakistan. They did not realize that as soon as they said the word Pakistan, the world would say, where is Pakistan? And does Pakistan make jeans?
Mhm.
So that entire thing lasted from 1994. Joint venture was signed earlier, but the plant came into production in 1994.
Mhm.
It was 1 million square feet of construction, complete with complete campus, housing, medical facilities, school, effluent treatment plant, production, and the entire project was completed in 8 months from the first time he dug ground, and first jean that came out was 8 months. At that time, it was unheard of. The best of the best in the world were brought in to train people. He hired Kurt Solomon to come in to train the labor force
Mhm.
because sewing techniques were not indigenous to our region.
Mhm.
Entire management was hired raw, from industrial engineers to process engineers to you name it. Motorola was brought in to create an academy for Six Sigma black belts in this company. At
Mhm.
one point, we had 26 Six Sigma black belts on ground, and that was our variation buster team. So today also we have active Six Sigma programs and lean programs in this company. This plant originally was destined to produce $50 million in turnover,
Mhm.
produce 27,000 jeans per day,
Mhm.
and to sell no fabric.
Mhm.
So from inception, it was vertically integrated. Today, this plant produces about close to 1 million jeans a month, 1.8 million meters of fabric,
Mhm.
and with all the variety you can think about.
Of course.
We remain vintage because I think this Americans selecting the machinery gave us a gift in disguise, and we remain true to our DNA to date. We still weave fabric on soldiers.
Mm.
We still have old school spinning with, of course, a lot of technology upgrades, but the basic frame remains the same. Our yarn has the imperfections built into it naturally, where you have to buy modern equipment today to create that. The looms, the dye range has been dissected many times to create a modern dye range. So literally, we performed a heart surgery on it. So as far as I would not take you into product in more detail.
No.
CBL, I think, is beyond its product, beyond its $100 million facility, beyond its machinery. CBL, and no credit to me, my father created it to be a people's company. CBL is all about the gift of education to the common man.
All right, so this is where I wanted to go. So this is the next subject that I wanted to cover. So many, many years ago, I read this Harvard Business Review article on Bob Haas, whose family owned Levi's at the time, and he ran Levi's. And they asked him, they said, well, Mr. Haas, how do you manage 50,000 people? It's not so easy to manage 20. 50,000 was quite a question. And his answer was, you do it with values. And if you have values at the top, then the values will spread through the company, and hopefully decision-making by people in the company will be as close to if they follow the values, they'll be the right decision almost 80, 90% of the time. So I wanted to ask you about your company's values and what kind of values you establish for your textile mill and your garment factory.
So I think the core value is people, and how to make a accountable learning organization. And to become one, you have to take on, this is a journey in the end. You cannot just buy machines and make a company. Unless it is a people-centric company where you do good for people. I have seen in my limited experience that all people are good. They just have to be given the opportunity and the guideline to perform good deeds. Ordinary people have done extraordinary things in this company and any other Crescent Group company for that matter. This is a country of great people with no opportunity. If you go for simply a balance sheet, you cannot do the things CBL or my father achieved along with ordinary people. So taking people raw, training them, putting them through school, giving scholarships, early adoptions of resources at university levels, collaboration with universities. Learning organization, I think, is a very misled term. Where organization learns and people don't learn, it cannot happen. It is organization imparting the knowledge and retaining that knowledge within the company or the organization is what matters. People will come and do extraordinary things if they align with your vision, and they are given a certain set of values. I will not take you through a painful around of what our value system is and how we catalog our values. I think that above all, it started with transparency. You can make a loss of $1 million, nobody will ask you a question. But if you lie, it is zero tolerance. If you, nobody is allowed to raise their voice on the floor and say it is production and this is how it happens. No, let alone hit somebody on the ground. Equal opportunity employment is provided. We probably house, in our set of circumstances, not being in the city, a large population of females, which in our area was unheard of. A female would work. Now it has become a benchmark. So everything boils down to people and a learning organization. That is the core essence of CBL. Whether it happens through education, whether it happens through education for the elderly. Today, CBL has zero illiterate person in it. Even the people which are classified as floor cleaners or gardeners are put through a program of adult education. We have on-ground medical facilities available because we believe basic medicine is a basic right for every individual. So that is what I think the core values of this company are.
Thank you, Rizwan. I really appreciate it. I think we're running out of time, but it's really important for me to have you on and to express what you just said and to give us some texture and color of the company. I appreciate your time. Good day.
All right.